It doesn't matter what your name is.
You just made the list!
Rest in peace.
Tell me, he didn't just say that.
Brother, bro, brothers, bro, brothers, brother, brothers, brother, 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 brother.
You are not ready for.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line, cause Stone Cold said so.
All you have to do is believe!
So for the benefit of those with flash photography,
Brother, 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 brothers, brother.
And if you're not down with that, we got 2 words for ya!
You're fired.
Woo, 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 woo!
Brother, 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 brothers, brother. If you smell.
Oh yeah! Yeah! Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Oh yeah!
ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, there's only one word to describe you.
Brother, 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 brother.
Hello again. We are back with another episode of Hidden Gem Hunters, the search for wrestling's forgotten classics. I'm Alec Burnett alongside Mr. Peter Nixon. How have you been, sir?
I'm right, you're right.
Yeah, I'm good. Why do I not know what that is?
Oh, mate, it's literally someone who's on the show we're about to review.
Really?
Yeah.
But I feel like I watched this weeks ago now. Go on, put me out of my misery.
Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
Oh yeah, the rubbish music that
Yeah.
used to come to. Yeah, I get you. But yeah, other than me getting nowhere close to guessing that, how have you been?
Oh yeah, I've got nothing to report, mate. All good in the hood.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, how about you?
Yeah, all good. Lots going on. But yeah, all good at my end. In a quick weather update, it's been fascinating today. The storm so bad, my office building was shaking. It was crazy. Yeah, which was a lot of fun. Very wet.
Oh yeah, it's been dreadful here as well.
Yeah, the world is very soggy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The pub over the road from us had to shut yesterday because they were flooded.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, they had a power cut.
Had to drink at home then, did you?
Oh no, I was observing from my pub on the other side of the road.
All right.
We've got your custom.
Come on in, people. Come on in.
Yeah. There's no
Just
water
standing
here.
at the door, gesturing in the rain.
We've got
Brilliant.
electricity.
You with just holding a candle in the rain. Right, so this week we're taking a look at, firstly, our TV match of the week, which was suggested by Mr. Jack Nichols, a good friend of the show, good friend in general. And he suggested Kane against the Big Show from Raw, May 8th, 2006. Did you check this one out?
I did watch it. I would suggest that Jack suggested that we review this match kind of for the wrong reasons. I love the fact that he suggested it because the match wasn't great, but it was funny.
Yeah, definitely.
I've seen this match before, and I'll tell you exactly where I saw it. Back in my training days.
Oh, really?
Yeah. When the big guys, maybe the less talented trainees, would lock up and bumble around and try and do a bit of chain wrestling. That's the exact match that I saw from Raw on May 8th, 2006.
Yeah, I think it's kind of, I think Jack's remembering it as just the surprise of watching it at the time, being like, "Oh, they're doing some chain wrestling," but there's so many holes in that chain wrestling. It wasn't good. It like you say, it was funny to watch, but it's not in any way a banger that will be added to our hidden gem list at all. It's not going on there, Jack. Sorry, but
it wasn't even bad enough to go on the should have stayed forgotten list.
Yeah, exactly. Because the effort was there, and they tried to do something different. Which, fair enough, they probably had 1,000 matches, and they just thought to themselves, "Well, let's do something different." Which is fair enough, but
kudos.
Yeah, but again, it was maybe sort of rose tinted glasses, remembering it as they did some chain wrestling, but it wasn't that good, but it was a fun watch anyway.
Oh yeah, I definitely enjoyed watching it.
Yeah, but our main viewing for this episode was the WWF pay-per-view In Your House 5 Seasons Beatings from 17th of December 1995. Hershey Park Arena in Hershey, Pennsylvania, in front of 7,289 fans. I have certain memories of these In Your House shows, but I wasn't watching at the time. I wasn't watching WWF stuff. So a lot of what I've seen, I've sort of gone back and watched. With that in mind, a lot of these shows, I've gone back and watched the specific matches that I've been told about or heard about. So I've seen the stuff that probably is not going to go on a hidden gems list because it's the stuff that everyone talks about. But it does mean that a lot of this stuff I've not seen the first time round, and is a lot of new stuff to me. So I had seen the main event of this show in the past, but I'm not sure I'd seen anything else on this show.
Right.
Which made it quite fun viewing, to be honest. But I didn't think overall it was an amazing show. I think it was topped off by a very good main event.
I tend to agree with you. I've got very fond memories of the In Your House format. My first 2 wrestling videos that I ever owned were In Your House 6 and 7.
Okay.
So this is my jam, 95, 96. I got big fond memories of this era. So yeah, I enjoyed watching this pay-per-view back, but like you say, I don't think it was a great show by any stretch, but the main event was certainly very good.
Yeah, I mean, my first memories really of wrestling were a little bit before this, being quite young, and my brother's watching, and Jake the Snake, Ultimate Warrior, that kind of very early 90s. So I'd have been very young, first impressions, very bright and colourful and all that stuff.
Yeah,
and then kind of zoned out on it in the mid 90s, and then got back into it late 90s. Late 90s WCW actually, but so I actually didn't see a lot of this, and I didn't see a lot of the Attitude Era stuff either at the time, as I was watching WCW, and you could get that on the old original Skybox that we had. You could watch it late at night, and I'd be obsessed with that, and no one had a clue who half the people I was talking about were, because everyone was obsessed with Rock and Austin. But anyway, another story for another time. Just before we get into the matches on this show, just to throw back to something we talked about last episode, we discussed the match that happened in Memphis between Big Show, or Paul the Great White, against Hulk Hogan. Yeah. So I saw an interesting fact about that this week, about that exact match. And that is that match was the last time Hulk Hogan ever did the leg drop.
Wow. You mean he didn't do it in TNA?
No, Never did it because his hips were knackered, weren't they? His hips were
yeah,
knackered. His lower back was knackered. At one point in TNA, he literally had the wire things hanging out of his back. Like, he never did it.
Okay.
So, yeah, the last time he did the leg drop was against Paul the Great White in Memphis in 2007. There you go. Fact of the day.
Nice one.
But that's got nothing to do with what we're talking about today. So, the opening match on In Your House 5 Seasons Beatings was Razor Ramon against Marty Jannetty. Sorry, teaming with Marty Jannetty against Psycho Sid and the 1-2-3 Kid. As far as openers go, this was all right.
Yeah, I mean, Sean Waltman has said in the past they wanted to try and get Sid and the Kid as a regular tag team going forward, but I guess it never really came to fruition. But yeah, I think it was a fun little opener, and Marty Jannetty was the star of the match, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I mean, my issue with Marty Jannetty in this
is that he's a sex pest.
Well, yeah, but I didn't know that at the time.
Oh, okay.
My issue is that Jannetty and Michaels split as the Rockers, and Michaels evolved from there, and Jannetty just didn't.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
he was
you're
still he was still wearing the same gear. He still had the same hair. He was still, exactly the same. There's nothing, and that's why he never, progressed from the spot he was in.
Yeah, I think he still had the same music as well.
Yeah, everything was exactly the same. So, I just, yes, he was very good in this match. I mean, he was good. He was always good, but yeah, I just think it felt like a bit of a nothing match. He had a lot of name value in there. Obviously, Razor, Sid, and Sean Waltman, 1-2-3 Kid, but Sid could not have looked less bothered.
Yeah.
He just looked like he didn't care. I don't think I've ever seen him look worse than in this match. Like, I just was watching him thinking, this is fascinating. Like, how someone could just look like they just don't want to be there. So I mean, it was good in spots, rubbish in other bits, but it was all right as an opener. The crowd were into it. It was all right for me. How did you score it?
I gave it a 6. I thought there was some cool little bits in there. I liked the bit where Razor had the Kid up for the atomic drop and he blind tagged Sid. And then so he gave the atomic drop, and as he was waiting for the Kid to come off the ropes, Sid clobbered him. I thought that's a cool little spot. I haven't really seen any spots like that, and it was certainly in a long time. Yeah,
and it's one of those, like say, one of those spots that you kind of want to just isolate that one little spot because it's something that I've not seen, and just kind of isolate that from memory and just give that to people,
Yeah.
And say, have to steal this, because no one else has stolen this,
Yeah, exactly.
I gave it a 5. Again, it was okay. It bugged me how much Sid looked like he didn't care. But it was okay for an opener, perfectly fine. But it did feel like, in places, just a kind of going through the motions match, really.
Yeah, I agree with you. Did I tell you my score already? I can't remember.
You did, yeah. You said a 6.
Oh, yeah, that is correct.
I just think they're all talented people, but they're all going through the motions, so it's never going to be bad.
Yeah.
But it never really, for me, kicked into that next gear to go above sort of mid marks. Second on this show was the 45-second match between Ahmed Johnson and Buddy Landell. This was pretty nothing, wasn't it?
Yeah, utter squash. why they brought in Buddy Randell, of all people, to be squashed by Ahmed Johnson. Is he a friend of Jeff Jarrett?
Yeah.
Right, that would explain it.
But the thing is, there was a lot of that in the mid-90s of just random people showing up.
Yeah. Playboy
there was
Buddy
a lot of that because actually, the core roster was actually pretty small in the mid-90s. And they brought in lots of people just on like one-offs or like pay-per appearance deals and things, mainly to put people over that were kind of semi-established names or, were established names from years gone by, that kind of thing. So, yeah, I think that's probably how this came about. But, yeah, it was mostly about the angle surrounding it. But yeah, because there wasn't much of a match, I gave it a 2. There was nothing really in it that I was like, wow, that was good, So I didn't feel like I could score any less than that. Because I feel like that'd be harsh. Because what can you do in 45 seconds? But yeah, I scored it a 2.
Yeah, I went with a 3. I was a bit more generous because I enjoyed the angle with Jarrett and Ahmed afterwards. I think Jeff Jarrett is low key one of the best ever. I don't think people quite understand my fandom of Jeff Jarrett. But yeah, because of that angle, I gave it a 3, and that is being generous.
Yeah, that is. But I think I remember what I saw of Ahmed Johnson when I was younger. I thought he was great because I was young.
Yeah.
But he wasn't. Yeah, but I thought he was when I was younger. And yeah, watching him back, he was pretty poo, wasn't he?
Oh, in ring, absolutely dreadful. On the mic, even worse. But he had an undeniable natural charisma, and he looked
like a physical charisma. Yeah. That you can't really explain it.
Yeah,
because everything about him is rubbish.
Yeah.
There's something about him that attracted people to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just a sidetrack, as I quite like to do. If you haven't seen it, track down. I think it's on YouTube. There is an indie match from, I believe, around this time actually, between Buddy Landell and Shawn Michaels.
Oh,
It is an indie match where I believe the scheduled match was Buddy Landell against Jeff Jarrett. And then right before the event was meant to take place, Shawn Michaels became the Intercontinental Champion. And it was scheduled to be Buddy Landell challenging the Intercontinental Champion as what was advertised.
Oh yeah, Jeff left the company, didn't he?
Yeah, so the WWF sent to this indie show, Shawn Michaels and Buddy Landell against Shawn Michaels, and the match is fantastic.
Right.
I will find the link and I'll send it to you, sir. But it is available on YouTube.
Nice. That might be a hidden gem.
Could well be. I'll have to dig it out and we'll have a look and maybe watch that one week.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was an absolute banger. So you scored Ahmed Buddy Landell a 3. I scored it a 2. And next up was the Hog Pen match, which was Hunter Hearst Helmsley against Henry O. Godwin with a special referee of Hillbilly Jim. This was 8 minutes and 58 seconds. Just go on. Tell me what you thought.
I thought this was peak New Generation. I thought this epitomized the WWF in 1995 because it was all occupational gimmicks, wasn't it? And the hog farmer from Arkansas, it was the perfect. What did I just say? Occupational gimmick. Pure character. Very little real wrestling ability. Maybe that's being harsh towards Henry Godwin. But
I thought he was all right.
Okay. I enjoyed some of the Godwins as a tag team, but I couldn't really name a great singles match that featured Henry Godwin. Apart from this one, I thought this was a great opportunity for Triple H to show his versatility, and it has to be one of the main reasons that Triple H started to get pushed in 1996. I know it got cut short because of the curtain call.
Yeah.
But then it picked right up at the end of the year, and then he won the King of the Ring in 1997.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this match must have caught Vince's eye.
Yeah, because it showed, as you say, it showed versatility. It showed that because even in amongst all the silliness, there was some good bits where I almost felt like these two people, without the silly gimmicks, could have a good brawl and a good fight. You forget for a minute that it was, with all the silliness. But yeah, like you say, it was mid-90s peak occupational gimmicks and all that. There's a bit with where Triple H gets hit in the face with like a can from the crowd that must have stung.
Oh yeah. See the gash on Triple H's back, and he's rolling around in pig shit.
Superb. This is the kind of gimmick that I'd love to do on a show, but logistically, it's just not ever going to happen. But yeah, I thought this was fun for what it was, but what it was, a hog pen match. But it had its moments, and I enjoyed some of the silliness. And Hillbilly Jim is great. Yeah, but this was just all right for me.
Fair enough. I thought the result was really good. Like Triple H won the match, but
then got embarrassed.
He ended up in the pig shit anyway, so he got his comeuppance. I thought it was perfect for that.
I'd agree with that. Yeah. But it didn't creep higher than a 5 for me.
See, I've been more generous than you on this show, but I think it might be the In Your House magic. Like you said earlier, the rose-tinted glasses. I went with a 6 on this match.
Okay, I think this for me it could have creeped to a 6. Maybe I was being a little bit harsh, but I'm sticking with my 5.
Fair enough.
Next up was, for me, disappointing.
Oh yeah,
because next up was Owen Hart against Diesel. And I was really intrigued by this and thought this could be good. But it was only 4 minutes and 34 seconds long. So, what can you do in under 5 minutes, really? There was a nasty bit near the start where Owen landed on his head.
Yeah.
That looked pretty nasty. And then I was kind of, after that point, kind of watching, thinking, if he was hurt, from that. But yeah, this was disappointing because when I saw that this match was on there, I thought, okay, this will be good. I liked the Diesel promo from the video at the start, and I felt like he was becoming what was, Nash in WCW, less cartoony. At that point, it felt pretty good. It was fun but short, too short.
Yeah, I thought this was quite effective in re-establishing Diesel after he lost the belt the previous month to Brett. It created like a ruthless streak in Diesel. I know he turned heel very shortly after for his match against Undertaker at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I thought it was effective, Kevin Nash, but as a match, another squash match, 2 squash matches on a pay-per-view. For me, that's not good enough.
No, I agree. Especially when you've got two people that, I mean, you don't need to be having, if Diesel needs to squash someone, don't squash Owen Hart,
Exactly, right?
who can give you a banger,
Yeah. Give him Bob Holly or someone like a
Yeah.
Duke the Dumpster Drosy.
Don't put down Duke, my main man Duke.
Are you a closet Duke the Dumpster Drosy guy?
Oh, big time. Big time.
You surprise me.
Him and TL Hopper.
I knew you. For some reason, I knew you were going to say TL Hopper.
It's these occupational gimmicks, man. I love
Exactly.
the goon.
I think, can we agree that the greatest? Well, no. Let me rephrase that. The greatest portrayal of an occupational gimmick has to be. Should we say it on 3?
But I don't know who you're getting at.
Well, I'm interested to see if we have the same opinion.
All right, the greatest occupational gimmick.
The greatest portrayal of an occupational gimmick.
Okay, all right. Give me a sec. Okay, greatest portrayal. I don't know whether the one that's jumped to mind counts, but okay, go on.
Okay. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Repo
The
Man.
Undertaker. The Undertaker. That's a job.
he's a dead man. He's a zombie. How's that an occupational gimmick?
Tell me, right? Tell me if there is an occupation called an Undertaker.
Well, there is, but Paul Bearer,
Right.
he was the occupational gimmick. The Undertaker was a dead man.
So he's just called one. He's just called the Undertaker.
he's
Why is he called the Undertaker then? If it's not his job?
Did you ever see him doing any undertaking?
No.
You saw Reaper Man repossess things, though, didn't you?
I did, yeah, I did actually. I mean, you are right, but Repo Man is not the correct answer.
Yes, it is.
It's not at all.
Barry Darso put his heart and soul into the Repo Man gimmick. It was a dumb gimmick, but he made it work.
What makes me laugh about Repo Man is he had to adapt everything because prior to that, obviously been, various gimmicks where he's a big man, big muscular man. He almost had to like hunch and make himself kind of sneaky and less of a jacked up big dude because he was massive.
He was huge.
He had to kind of hunch and be sneaky and everything. I thought that was quite. So yeah, he did put a lot into it, but don't ever put down Sparkplug Bob Holly.
Yeah. My friends call me Sparky.
Exactly. What's not to love? Okay, sidetracked again.
I love all these tangents. You know me, mate.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I gave Owen and Diesel a 4.
I also went with a 4.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
You can't go any higher than that. Well, like I say, it was extended squash. It only went 4.5 minutes, but when you compare it to 45 seconds of Ahmed, it was a longer squash, but it was still a squash. Match number 5 was a casket match between The Undertaker and King Mabel. Yeah.
Ooh.
I love me some King Mabel.
You are joking.
I'm a massive Viscera fan.
Are you having a laugh?
No, I legitimately, right? Legitimately, in my head as a kid, there was no way that he wasn't going to be the world champion.
Mabel.
As a kid. Because I'd just look and think, fucking size of him. Because I was a kid, right? And those kind of watching him as a kid and thinking, well, no one can beat that big fucker, right? That carried on. And I just remained a fan. Viscera was great. The world's largest love machine was great. Big Daddy V was great.
Not even. Don't say Big Daddy V was any good.
I loved it. With Matt Striker as his manager. Come on.
Big Daddy V.
I loved that. Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
The only gimmick that I ever got even a chuckle from was the world's largest love machine,
Mainly for his finish, though, right?
where he basically humped him.
Yeah, the Visagra.
Is that what it was called?
Yeah, it was amazing. I know my Viscera trivia, mate. Don't you worry.
Well, I know my Barry Darso trivia, all right?
Good man. Give yourself a pat on the back. Okay, so the Undertaker Mabel match. What did you actually think of it?
Do you know, I wrote in my notes, as good as you would expect from a match involving Mabel.
Yeah.
And the only time that I can remember a match actually benefiting from the casket stipulation.
Mm-hmm.
Because it added a good bit of drama and the crowd were hot for it. The crowd were
Yeah.
into
Yes, they
Undertaker.
were. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I actually enjoyed this match.
Same. Mabel
Yeah.
carried him.
Mabel carried him.
Yeah, but
So seriously.
yeah, because I mean it.
Even Dinky's laughing.
Yeah, but that's because Dinky's a rascal.
Cheers. Aren't you, Dink?
The best thing about this match was King Mabel's entrance, where I noticed that the Hardy Boys were carrying Mabel to the ring,
Yeah.
and that was the hardest day of their lives.
Yeah, you know it.
Who looked at them and went, "You can carry him"? Seriously, they were about 12 at the time, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, hardest day of their lives. It was almost as difficult as Mabel carrying the Undertaker.
You need to stop.
I gave this match a 6. I enjoyed it for what it was, and as you say, it was as good as it could have been. I think.
Yeah, exactly the same. I went with the 6.
Awesome, and that brings us to our main event, which was Bret Hart against the British Bulldog. This match went 21 minutes and 9 seconds, and this was they were billing this heavily as the rematch from SummerSlam '92, which surprises me that obviously they didn't have a rematch at the time. But then if you look, Bulldog actually left pretty quickly after SummerSlam '92.
Yeah, and Brett was promoted to the world title.
Yeah, Bret was moved up, Bulldog left, had a run in WCW, and then came back. So he had the run where he feuded with like Vader and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, that's just actually some really good matches there.
Yeah.
But Bulldog was a bit kind of back and forward throughout the 90s. So, which is kind of why, he had his issues, but, very back and forward because of those issues, and was never really trusted to be a top guy permanently, on a long-term basis, which is a shame because, would have been great to see a Brit get the title back then.
Oh, yeah.
But, which is why, SummerSlam 92, although Intercontinental Championship, it felt like a world title win at the time. But this match, and we had a brief discussion about this before, was that it was totally different to that SummerSlam match. And I really enjoyed this. I thought it was just fantastic.
Yeah, totally. Can you believe this is the first time this is our 5th episode, but this is the first time we're reviewing a Bret Hart match?
Yeah, true. No, it isn't. Bret and Booker T.
Oh, Bret and Booker.
On episode 1.
Can you even count that?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Wasn't memorable.
What a disappointment that was. So, as a kid, I never appreciated Bret Hart. I was an Owen fan, but I thought, oh, Bret's so boring, does the same thing every time. He always wins. When I became a wrestler and I started to rewatch some of Bret's better matches, I truly understood and appreciated Bret Hart. and now he is on my Mount Rushmore.
Oh, 100%.
I think Brett is one of the best ever.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. Brett was fantastic. I mean, one of the things for me was being a WCW fan in the late 90s. I was so excited about Brett, and then so disappointed with Brett. Like
Yeah.
Brett had good matches in WCW, and some of them will be ones that have kind of gone under the radar. He did have some good matches,
Yeah.
but it's always kind of tarnished. They just didn't know what to do with Brett. He wasn't the main man anymore, and you realise just how well he'd been presented prior to that. When you see someone else handling his booking,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, and obviously we never got Brett coming back. We got Brett coming back, but obviously way later than he was able to really do anything. So, which is a shame, really. It was a nice moment for him to come back, but I'm glad he did, because obviously there's a lot of bad blood and everything, and the fans got to see him come back. But I just look at Brett and then those people that kind of emerged in the early 2000s, and think some of the matches that could have been,
Yeah.
Brett and Angle.
Oh, can you imagine?
Is the main one that sort of jumps out.
Bret Hart and Bryan Danielson.
Yeah. Would have been incredible. But was not to be. This match, though, I felt like this match, because of the cartoony nature of the presentation at the time, I felt like this match really, really benefited from the blood.
Oh, 100%.
Because it really gave this a really different edge to everything else you'd seen so far. And Brett was kind of the Brock Lesnar of his day, in that if he felt the match needed blood, he'd get blood and then apologize later.
Yeah.
That's kind of what Brock does, just throws himself headfirst into stuff.
Oh, yeah, he did that in Puerto Rico.
Yeah,
Jeez.
yeah, look nasty. But he's done that on several occasions. And Brett did the same. So, and I think this match really benefited from that. And yeah, I thought this was fantastic and topped off this show. I think this massively the far and away the best thing on the show, as it should have been. But I don't think I don't think it was as good as SummerSlam '92.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I agree with you.
But I loved it because it was completely different, and it felt different, and it was still really, really, really good. So yeah, I think I have seen this in the past. The blood makes it memorable. There is a place for blood in wrestling when done sparingly and done right, in the right places. Personally feel that. And this was one of those places I felt like it needed it, and it really added to everything.
Yeah, I agree with that. The only way the blood took away from the match is that because it was unexpected and people didn't really bleed on WWF. You know, it was a very family-oriented product. Vince ordered the director ordered the cameras to sort of shy away from Brett and not shoot the blood. So I think the match in its presentation suffered a tiny bit because of that.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. But then there was a good amount of blood that you couldn't really hide it. So
yeah, very true. The canvas was splattered.
So, talk me through what you scored it and sort of your reasoning for that.
I went with an 8. Like you said, I don't think it was as good as SummerSlam '92, but it's hard to compare them because they're very different styles of matches.
Yeah.
It was hard hitting. No one takes a better turnbuckle than Bret Hart, and I always tried to to emulate that. When I was a wrestler, I took a hard buckle. I would try and emulate Bret Hart, because he ran through those buckles, boy.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the best to do that.
Yeah. I thought the finish was a bit out of nowhere, but I've got an interesting fact about the finish of this match. Would you like to hear it?
Do tell.
A couple of nights ago, I was reading Chris Jericho's first book, A Lion's Tale.
Very good book.
Yeah, I'm about 2/3 of the way through it. I'm really enjoying it. So, the finish of this match was Chris Jericho's idea. And it was when Chris Jericho attended Stu Hart's 80th birthday. I think it was his 80th. Chris Jericho introduced himself to Bret. Bret said, "Oh yeah, I've heard of you. Have you ever wrestled in Mexico?" And Chris Jericho said, "Yeah." And Bret said, "I'm looking for a finish for this match against Davey. I don't want to beat him with a sharpshooter. I want it to be a nice hold. So basically a way to roll him up so he can't kick out, and that to be the finish. So we both look strong." And Jericho said, "I've got just the move." And he showed Bret the Magistral, which was Negro Casas' finishing move, who Jericho had been working with in Mexico. And Jericho showed it to Bret, and Bret said, "Yeah, I like it." And that ended up being the finish of the match.
Fantastic. And that's not just a Jericho taking credit for everything moment. Because you've got to remember, no one had ever sang along to anyone's theme music before Judas.
Oh, no, exactly. Yeah, he invented that.
No one had ever done that. Sandman. Anyway, so you say your score there?
I gave an 8.
See, I gave it an 8 as well. Yeah. It could have creeped into a 9, but I feel like that would be over generous. It was very, very good. It was amplified how good it was because the show for me was a little bit lacking overall. So with those scores in mind, the overall score for this show comes in at a 5.25. So the main event really helped it. Helped it and boosted that. So it sits somewhere in the middle. Not a great show. Couple of decent matches, and then a good main event.
It's no Beach Blast 92.
This is very, very true. Still the best show that we've watched, and I would say still the only show to feature on the Hidden Gems list. Would you agree?
I agree. The only match that came close to being a hidden gem was Bret and Davey, but I mean, because it's Bret Hart and the British Bulldog, it's the main event of a pay-per-view, and people, because it's the rematch to Wembley, people do remember it, so it's not hidden, and I dare even say it's not good enough to be a gem.
Yeah, I'd say I agree with that. It is too well known to fall into that category, unfortunately. But if you're someone that hasn't seen it and you have only seen the SummerSlam 92 match, I would urge you to go and watch this because it is very different.
Yeah.
And it is definitely worth a watch. Not much else on this show that I would sort of say you need to go back and check this out. But definitely, if you haven't seen it, go back and watch this main event, I'd say.
Yeah, I'd say watch the hog pen match just because it's peak New Generation.
Yeah, if you're into that kind of thing.
Oh, I am.
If you love yourself some Hillbilly Jim, then get yourself.
I don't class myself as a Hillbilly Jim mark, but I love silly stuff like this from the mid-90s.
Yeah, you have a bit of silly with your wrestling, right?
Oh, yeah, because wrestling is silly.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course it is. I'm a big supporter of having that element of silly in wrestling, as you well know. We've done it many times on DOA shows.
Yeah.
So that's basically a wrap on in Your House 5. We didn't find a hidden gem. We didn't find anything that we think should stay hidden. Not quite, anyway.
No.
If Ahmed's match had gone a bit longer, maybe. But so we've not added anything to the list, and also there was no really great commentary lines on this one that I could quote out, like Irish potato soup last week. But
no, I haven't even got a subtitle for this or a caption for this show.
Yeah, I know, right? Nothing.
The only thing that I could even suggest is as good as you would expect from Mabel.
Hey, now I'm a big Mabel fan. We could give it a subtitle along the lines of, In Your House 5, the hardest night of the Hardys' career.
Yeah.
But that's essentially concludes In Your House 5. We need to find out what we're going to watch next week.
My favourite part of the week.
Yeah, so we have had a little discussion. One of the matches that got suggested by your good self last week for our TV match of the week that we're going to go back and watch. So we have settled on Diamond Dallas Page against Sting from WCW Nitro, April 26th, 1999.
Absolutely. I love this match. I watched it again about a year ago.
Okay.
It's in the middle of the show. It's in the middle of an episode of Nitro. It's for the World Championship, and the crowd are there for it. And that, it helps the wrestlers produce a hell of a match.
Okay, I'm looking forward to it. I know that I will have seen it at the time, but obviously a long time ago. I probably haven't seen it back since. So really looking forward to watching that one back. But we now have to go to our random number generator to choose our pay-per-view for this week. So we have a drum roll being inserted right now. Hang on. Okay, there we go. 192.
Okay. Late 90s?
Yeah, it's got to be, hasn't it? 192. Okay. So this is a WWF pay-per-view.
Okay.
And it's the 25th of July, 1999.
Is it fully loaded?
It is fully loaded.
Okay. Some Attitude Era, finally.
Yeah. Bit of Attitude Era. So WWF fully loaded 1999. And as I said, I wasn't watching at the time. I've watched bits back, lots of stuff back, but kind of dipped in on stuff. So very few start to finish Attitude Era pay-per-views. I've gone back for specific matches, but we're going to watch this. Do you remember anything top of your head from this one?
I certainly do.
Okay.
It's very funny because there is a match on this show featuring Kane versus The Big Show.
Amazing. We can compare the two.
We certainly can.
I bet there wasn't any chain wrestling.
I don't think there was. Feeling Hardcore Holly is the guest referee for some reason.
Amazing.
Do you remember the main event of this show?
Austin would have been champion at this time, right?
Yep, it's Austin versus The Undertaker, First Blood, and it's stipulations galore. Okay.
Well, I am looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too.
It should be fun, and it's 1999, right? So you probably got some Jarrett on there.
Oh yes, there is. Would you like to know who he wrestles?
No, I want to keep it as a surprise.
Okay, I think it's actually a pretty good match.
Okay. Well, I'm very much looking forward to seeing WWF Fully Loaded 1999 and also checking out Sting against DDP from Nitro, which is also 1999.
Absolutely.
So that's pretty much the show, right?
Indeed, it is.
That's us pretty much done for another week. Obviously, do check us out on all forms of social media. Watch along with the shows. Let us know what matches you want us to review from TV. And let us know what you thought of the pay-per-views. If you think we've got our scores wrong, or you think something belongs on a hidden gem list, let us know. And also make sure that you check out Fight TV and keep watching DOA Wrestling, because we've got some fantastic shows upcoming over the next month or so. We're back in Great Yarmouth, we're back in Ipswich, we're back in Bury St Edmunds in June. Lots and lots of exciting stuff, so do check that out. Also, if you're in those areas, come and see us as well.
Yeah, I understand The Last Hurrah has been doing pretty well on Fight TV.
Certainly has. There's a pretty good main event on that one, right?
Oh yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, the numbers on that have been really, really positive. Some of our highest yet. So
Yeah, and the
so
numbers don't lie.
the numbers don't lie,
And they spell disaster for you at Sacrifice.
Exactly. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Rest in peace. Rest in peace, Mabel.
Oh.
Yeah, what an absolute legend that man was.
Hall of Fame. Come on.
Yeah. I watched an indie match from, I can't even remember what year it was. It was also in Memphis, going back to Memphis, when they were trying to like revive it in that same kind of era. It might have been on the same show,
Yeah.
because it was a pretty big crowd, so it might have been on the same show. And that was King V, as he was being called, because he was had done the Big Daddy V stuff and the King Mabel stuff, so he was King V.
Right.
Against Mordecai on this Memphis indie show. And I'm a Mordecai mark. What can I say? I loved it. I thought it was brilliant. What
You
a
are
great...
the one Mordecai fan. Yeah, we spoke about this last week, didn't we? You're the guy.
Yeah. I am the guy. Yeah.
I didn't mind Kevin Thorne, the vampire dude.
Nah, you see that I didn't like him as a vampire because I'd completely bought into the Mordecai thing. So anything he did after that, I just wasn't feeling it. Wasn't happy.
What was Mordecai, the Pale Rider?
Yeah.
Explain the gimmick.
Oh, he wore white, didn't he? Bleached his hair. All right. So you have to remember this was... Yeah. So you got to remember that I'm in my teens, all right? I think, was I in my teens at that point? Yeah, still in my teens, right? A long time ago, in my teens, and this guy comes out looking cool as fuck. The music was cool, the entrance was cool, all the little video hype things I thought were cool. I didn't fully understand what he was waffling on about, but I thought it was cool. And I had completely decided that it was, the gimmick was there entirely to, go against the Undertaker, which obviously was the intention to begin with. And then they kind of had him target Eddie Guerrero because of the whole lying thing and lie, cheat, steal and all that. And then he just lost and disappeared.
Yeah.
And I was so disappointed.
Disappointed. Me too. I was gutted when Mordecai disappeared.
I actually was. I have this because that's the main era of WWE where I was probably watching it as religiously as possible. And there's a whole bunch of those big men that came around through the mid 2000s and stuff that I just absolutely thought were brilliant. I loved me some Snitsky. I loved me some Heidenreich.
I knew you were going to say Heidenreich.
Yeah, I did. I just did. My favourite era, and I'm including the real ECW, my favourite era of ECW was when the main event scene was basically bald Snitsky, Big Daddy V, Mark Henry, and Kane.
Oh my god.
It was amazing. It was amazing.
I really can't tell if you're taking the mic.
No, I loved it. Even Carly on ECW was great, wasn't it? When he was spaffing up the Tommy Dreamer and giving him the old chokeslam on the steps and stuff. Loved it.
Anyway, thanks for listening, ladies and gentlemen. It's been another great episode of Hidden Gem Hunters. We'll see you next week. I'm Peter Nixon. This has been Eric Burnett.
Sorry, it's not my gimmick. Sorry. A gimmick infringement, try and do an entrance theme. Yeah, thanks, everybody.